Hey, I'm Darren with Arbitrage Trade, home of our AI bot Pips. And this is Deep Dive with Daniel. My guest is, in fact, Daniel Hopwood, who's an ex institutional wealth manager who is on staff here at Arbitrage. And he brings, and what he brings with us, what should I say here? He brings a blog to us every week, which is a deep dive. And this week it is called, just wait for it, because those Stute guys, they love titles and long names, I guess. And it's the greatest generational wealth transfer, navigating $84 trillion and a shift that's going to happen. Wow. Okay, so this sounds like a promotional thing from those Stute guys. But Daniel, first question is this a wealth gap being handed down to relatives like uncle, daddy, and mama money bags to the younger folks?
Kind of. That's definitely one way of looking at it. You got to keep it in the family, but part of what we wrote about is in this transfer that a large portion will presumably go to charities. So, there is a hope that some of this will be dispersed outside of that and, go to some greater good causes.
Well, that's great, but that just means it's going to transfer wealth to charities and not to other stocks. So I'm trying to get a feel here of how all this money is going to just make stocks keep going up and to the right. Um, so you said 84 trillions being passed from baby boomers to the millennials, the Generation X's, the Generation Z's. Um, by the way, I don't see mine yet. I don't know where that is that I'm going to give that way. But anyway, so break it down how that's going to happen besides charities, and how this money is going to basically make everybody stay in the stock market. Don't sell, hold, because we have 84 trillion infusion coming, is how it's made to sound.
Yeah, I think that is the narrative, right? And when I was working at Goldman, there was a big, kind of internal education or push, if you will, of making sure that you are meeting your clients' kids so that when this shift happens, that they stay with, Goldman and that they're not, going to another wealth manager firm or whatever it might be. And there's money in that case. Like I think that when you have these really wealthy families, they're going to just hand over the portfolio. They probably already have stuff in a trust that's gifted, and those kind of things will probably just stay in the market. But I think there's another level below where a lot of people are going to take that money out of the market. They're going to buy a house. They might put some into Bitcoin because they see a higher return there. They might buy a car, pay off their student loans. I think you are going to see some of this money come out and be spent in the economy, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because, a lot of it is locked up right now and kind of doing nothing.
So there's a narrative that this upcoming generation, or the one that's currently here, is kind of YOLO, meaning that they will just take that money and go spend it and travel and not worry about that dwindling balance. And so they're basically converting things like stocks and investments to cash, and
Hmm.
then using that to just throw it down the drain, so to speak, for experiences. So again, that 84 trillion, if a lot do that, then that's not going back into the market. I see what you're saying as far as indirectly, because then that means that travel stocks, etc., will be more profitable, etc. I know the one-offs, um,
Hmm.
but for that specific cash balance that they have, or stock balance that they have, if they're pulling it out and cashing it out, and then they're going to put it in something else, that's just an even swap. So I'm just trying to see how that narrative works from you institutes.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is just to hold on to as much as possible, right? And I completely understand what you're saying, right? Like I am on the page that I think there is, I'll say, a class of people that are so rich that that like them getting more money is just going to kind of be whatever, right? But everyone else, because you got to remember, most people don't have money to retire actually, so there is no transfer at a certain economic class. But there's, we'll call it the middle class where maybe you're only getting 100K from your parents when they die because, they might have $1 million right now, but having had a grandparent that lived with my family growing up, that money goes real quick the moment they're in, a retirement home, in the hospital, they break something kind of thing. So I think I wrote about this week, is that a lot of this money that you see as that $84 trillion headline is going to be a much smaller transfer. And then when it does get transferred, having $1 million in the market versus getting 70K, well, 70K could, pay for Jimmy's college. So let's take that money and just, get that over with, so you don't have to carry that debt burden. And you're right, it comes out of the market.
Yeah, I can definitely testify to that, because my mother stayed in an assisted living facility. So the last part of her days, you could just see that dwindling down, as far as she sold her house so that she could stay in this assisted living facility. Say that 3 times real quick. And it dwindled. So you're right. There was nothing left. I mean, the assisted living facility got money. But as far as transferring that over, just not a whole lot happened there. What if a crash happens? What's going to happen with all of this money, that this 84 trillion? I mean, it's happened before, a crash has. So, and a lot of people lost a lot of wealth. So what happens if the stock market goes down 20%?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where when you're at that point in your life, like, you kind of have to spend, or like, if you're giving it to someone else, you're reducing the cost basis, right? So I
Right,
mean,
right.
it's one of those things where like at that point, like, you kind of got to spend what you got, because you only have so many years left. And it would definitely be unfortunate depending on people's situation, but it's what happens when you play the money game. Hopefully it
Right.
bounces back like it did in COVID, and 9 months after it crashed like 50%.
Well, maybe they'll push the reverse repos back up again and give money to you guys and the banks, that free money, or cheap money, I should say.
Oh, I am a big fan of ZERP. Let the good times roll, baby. Let's bring it back.
That's right. You say SERP and surf?
Yeah, ZERP and surf. Zero interest
SERP and surf,
rates.
yeah.
Yep. Zero
Hey, it's a
interest rates, so I
t-shirt.
can surf
It's a
every
t-shirt,
morning.
man. That's right. All right, so just kind of wrap up here. I know, like we said, that it's a lot of the older generation. The older generation does get sick. They have health problems. So by the time that it actually becomes actualized, not only is the middle class getting wiped out, and the wealth gap. This is, in my opinion, not a financial advisor, but the middle income is getting wiped out, and basically so is the low income. But there's such a wealth gap now that keeps getting bigger and bigger. So it's being handed down, or maybe just handed to the side is probably a better term to use, that the wealth will just keep being wealthy and keep being wealthier when this happens. And then they have just to make sure that the younger generation doesn't just screw away the money. And that's why they have you guys talking to kids, I guess, to train them.
History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And
Oh
a
boy.
lot of this money is going to be YOLO'd if we learn anything about getting free money during COVID. So,
oh, 100% poetry. Yes.
not financial advice, but if you get anything from your parents, just keep it in the market unless you like really need it. If someone's not breaking your kneecaps over it, leave it in the market.
Spoken like a true investment manager. Good job.
Hey, put it where you want, but keep it in the market.
That's right.
Put it where you want. I don't care who manages it anymore. That's not my gig. But make sure you're allowing compound interest to work.
There you
Eighth
go.
wonder of the world, like Charlie Munger said.
All right, guys. I'm gonna wrap this up. Thanks for coming by, Daniel, and giving us your expert advice and your past expert advice, and just kind of breaking it down to everyone how money does transfer, how it doesn't transfer, and what we might be able to look forward to here in the next year. And I'm going to say it'll be fun to look at about around June. So, any last words there, Daniel?
No, save your money.
All right.
Keep investing.
Bye. See you next time, Daniel.
See ya.